That's it. So yeah, so that's it, Greg. You're on record. So
oh, you mean I can't say any nasty things about? Never mind.
No, you can. If you're going to say nasty things about it, that's not a problem, Greg. I'm just not going to put it anywhere afterwards. I'll delete it, so that's okay. So let's see where we go. Right. Okay. So how much, if anything, do you know about Inlinks so far?
Upkiss, zip, nada.
Zip, which is great. So we can start with the basics here. So I'm going to share my screen. That's all right. So what have I been doing since I left Majestic? Well, yeah, Greg, I'm glad you asked.
the world has been wondering this, Dixon. We thought maybe you'd found a pub and you weren't sharing the address with the rest of us.
Well, so what happened was I kind of stepped back from Majestic and sat around at home. And after a couple of weeks, my wife started kicking me because I was getting underneath her feet. And she said, okay, Dixon, you're obviously not happy sitting around doing bugger all at home. So please, can you go and afford enough money to go and buy that really nice house on the edge of our village? So whether we have the house or not, you know, is neither here nor there. I had to get off my backside and go and do something. So, so this is it. So I've teamed up with a guy called Fred Laurent, who's an engineer in Nice, France, and all the clever stuff.
Wait. They have engineers in France?
If you're going to be like that, you're going to be blown away by the time we got through this one.
Well, no. I learned the classic joke that all the engineers come from Germany, all the chefs come from France, and God knows what comes from the UK.
That's true. Well, spin comes from the UK. That's what
oh, okay. I knew you specialized in something.
So what the tool does is it's built. It's been built around semantic optimization. So the whole tool is built around the concept of topics. So any SEO tool that was built before, well, at least before about 3 or 4 years ago, would not really have been built from the idea of topics. It would be more likely built around keywords. So what we see here is, this is my live site. I've got a bunch of projects in the system for different sites. So I'm just going to add a new one and demonstrate how it all works. So would you like to give me one of your sites, and we'll go and see that live, and then you can decide afterwards whether you want this live recording to go out on air?
Sure. smlr dot Rutgers, RUTGERS.
Sorry.
RUTGERS
yep.
.edu.
Okay. So smlr.rutgers.edu. Now, first thing we have to do is decide what market we're going to go for, and I'm going to say United States.
Yep.
Now, if I was running this live, I wouldn't tick this box, but it makes a much more impressive demo if I tick this box right now. So to demonstrate that we're using topics and not keywords, what it's now doing is it's bringing in the top web pages on your website, and it's reading that with our own natural language processing algorithm and trying to extract all the entities or topics that we're finding in that content. And the algorithm is designed to be more aggressive than Google's NLP API. They've got an NLP API that we can use. Ours is more aggressive, so we're more likely to find a topic than Google is. So we'll tend to find a lot more topics. The downside of that is we will sometimes be over aggressive and find things that are not necessarily appropriate topics. But the whole point here is for us to be able to use this to allow you to then build schema to explicitly tell Google what content is meant to, what the page is meant to be about, what the prime topic is, and then what other topics are being mentioned as well. So as we've gone through here, just in 20 pages out of the 14,500 that we've got on the site, we found 346 topics within those 20 pages. And now that we've found those topics, we can tabulate those and start generating links and schema, which is still thinking about right now. But what I'm going to go and do is show you the knowledge graph that's been created whilst that's thinking in the background. So we've seen, of course, Rutgers University discussed 16 times, And there's a potential, if you tell me which page is the home page or the landing page for Rutgers University, then we can associate that with the page, and presumably that's going to be the home page. So we can select the home page as the target page for the concept of Rutgers University. So now we've associated that, then any other mention of Rutgers University in the body text, we're going to be able to dynamically link that association on the fly back to the home page. So then we've got another page here about students. We've actually made an association, but we can change that if we want to. We've got, let's find another interesting one. So let's go and have a look at courses. Let's go and make sure that my courses page is correct. Course schedule planner, that's probably the best place. It could be one of these other ones. So now that we're collecting these, we're creating these links as well. So let me go back to the home page. Now I've done a little bit of thinking in the background. The most important thing for this is you get these associations right. So we associated Rutgers University with the homepage. So now you will see down here, Rutgers University associated. So this association button is exactly the same as the other one, but one is I found a page and I want to associate it with a topic. The other is I've got a topic I need to associate it with a page, but the association is the same. Having done that, then we can then start seeing the links that we're creating. So if I go to this one, we've associated this section with Newark, Delaware, and it's written schema and things on the fly. Actually, let's have a look at the schema. So this is the schema that we've created, and you'll see that we associate things directly with Wikipedia articles. So we've said this is mainly about and it's linked to the Rutgers University page. So we're explicitly telling Google that whether you thought about it or not, Google, this is a direct match. You know, this is about this thing. We can edit these as well. So if we've got some wrong, like this page is not necessarily about research, then we can edit the schema and delete these and modify these a little bit as well. We can also see what links we've got coming into the homepage that we've created so far. So far 3, we've got jobs at Rutgers, Rutgers University. This is the anchor text we've generated. So they're varied anchor text. They're not, it's not creating it because it's an exact match. We found the concepts and linked those, and these are the pages that they're coming from. So now if I go on here, this has pulled in the content that we crawled, and we can see that we've linked out on this page with the text library services are now online. So that link has linked out, and that is directly linking to the libraries subcategory of libraries.rutgers.edu. So good for the user, good for the search engines, hopefully. So that's the schema generation, and all you need for that to go live is for this code to be in the footer of the site, and then all of this stuff just happens in the background. You can start editing it, you can check it all before you go live, see all the links that have been created and edit those, or you can see all the schema and edit all that. And what's more, you can manage it and add topics on the fly in here. So you don't need to go back to the customer every time you want to start adding internal links and stuff. So hopefully it takes a lot of the pain out of having to completely go back to the web developers all the time and say, can you put content like that? So far, so good?
Incroyable.
Incroyable. When that
you're telling me French engineer did this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're going to be impressed by it by the time it's finished.
You know, my worldview just was turned upside down. Who knew? Who knew the engineers were in France? Does this mean the chefs have moved to Germany?
Who knows? Well, the chefs are all in England now, Gordon Ramsay and all. So you know.
Oh, okay. That's where they went. Okay.
So now the second part of the tool, we've convinced you with the schema and stuff. The second part of the tool is a content analysis and optimization. So let's say that you're, by the way, we pulled in some ranking stuff here as well. We pulled in the SEMrush API. So let's say you want to be optimizing for the concept of course schedules. Then you can say, right, let's analyze this page. Let's say it's near course schedule planner, but I'm going to say course schedule, and I want to optimize for that. Now this uses the same logic of scanning content and creating a knowledge graph out of that content. But now it's going to Google's API. It's looking up course schedule for the US market because we set the project up for the US market. It's seeing the top 10 pages that are coming back from that, the top 10 URLs, and then it's crawling all of those URLs, and then it's looking at the entities that are used in those URLs and creating a knowledge graph out of that, and then comparing your content with that content. So now, if you wanted to rank the course schedule, well, you're already doing bloody well. We've got 100% score. It's already doing well, which is possibly why Rutgers is doing pretty well. But it's annoying, isn't it? We'd like you to be in there right now. So you're not going to do much to improve this, but let me explain the process of this anyway. You've got concepts here, and we can pull them in. So we can see whether we talked about class. Does class mean class of people, or does it mean class as in a university lecture hall? So we can see what this means by pulling it in, and it says, right, this is for higher education. So we've got the right definition for class.
Right. The only time we use class the other way is when we talk about the middle class.
Yeah.
But that's not relevant here. So yes,
it's not. And
classrooms. Yeah,
and we do have both entities are going to be in the knowledge graph, of course. So sometimes it is necessary to go and check what they're talking about here. And if we've got it wrong, if you just could take the time to press and report an error, that'd be grand. And that means that next time we're trying to finesse the knowledge graph on our end, then we'll be able to take these kind of errors into account, and so there's a human in the loop for improving our own machine learning, if you like. So we can then go and say, right, what we've talked about here is interesting, but our competitors are also talking about online and campus and stuff like that. Also, we've mentioned the concept of schedule, but Inlinks' natural language processing found that we mentioned the word, but we didn't really talk about the concept. So somewhere in here, we've mentioned the word schedule, but not in a way that's going to be picked up by an algorithm as meaningful. So perhaps we need to make sure that we talk about schedule in a more meaningful way in our content as well.
Whoa. Okay, so maybe we're just literal and we know what a schedule is.
Yeah.
But how would we take the concept of schedule and flesh it out beyond it's a schedule?
Okay, so what you might do is say, scheduling versus planning, for example. So you might have a little head of H3 in there with schedule, and says this is a schedule for Rutgers University's thing. So schedules are very helpful in organising students, for example. So then you've talked about a schedule rather than assuming that the user knows what the schedule is and therefore talks about it to explain some other concept.
Wow.
So if we can actually probably look this up actually. So I'll get to this editor button in a second. I'll just go through left to right and try to stay organized. So the other things in here, we can see what's coming back for the phrase course schedule, and see what things they're talking about. So whether we're missing some ideas out, we can get some ideas. Of course, they can block us, so we're not being able to read those. So you might then want to substitute some other pages. You might choose other pages to compare against to create that corpus. And also you might want to change those, because if you've got 10, if Rutgers wants to compete with certainly the University of Texas and MIT, and it knows what its competition is, then maybe you would want to change this corpus of data. Also have a look at some keywords. If you hadn't written any content around course scheduling, you wanted to start from scratch, this comes up with a content structure that you might try. So you might say, well, these are the things in introduction, these are the good things of part one, and then it kind of puts the topics in a priority kind of order.
Wow.
So also, if we had found questions that are pertinent that you might want to ask, then it goes in there. Then this last one here, let's go and have a look at where we talked about schedule, see if I can explain it. Okay, so we have the word schedule, but it's in the context of the course schedule planner. So it's in a planner. rather than schedule. So it's not talking about schedule. We've mentioned the word, but it's connected with probably with some other kind of content entity, like a schedule planner or something like that. So you've always connected it to. So I suspect that's what happened. So if you wanted planner to be recognized, a schedule to be recognized on its own, you need to talk about a schedule somewhere on its own without.
You know, having attended the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, one of the things that I learned as an American student abroad was that the Europeans loved understanding why, and the Americans just wanted to understand how. And so what you've done with your analysis is we just assume that you know what a schedule is and what to do with it. You just want to use it, right? And
I guess so, yeah, absolutely.
And the concept behind a schedule is like, excuse me, there's a concept? It's just, that's how it works.
But that's the nature of semantic search here. So the whole point about semantic search. So I'm just doing another little content analysis whilst we're talking. But the whole way in which Google has moved from keywords to entities is really, really important there, because we need to understand that Google now is saying, darn it, I can't just connect every web page to every concept. I need to have a database of concepts first, and then everybody's content out on the web is now informing that entity database. So we now need to be able to write and explain things to Google in terms of quantities. So we need to understand the how and the why, really, or help Google understand the how and the why. Which is what we're trying to do with it.
Okay, got it.
So if I go back to my dashboard here now, not my dashboard, sorry, my project. So the next thing we've done, so I just ran another one that wasn't 100%. So Rutgers Library, we could improve on that. It's only got a score of 59%, which is still great and still ranking position 1, it would appear, for Rutgers Library, but it would do. But let's say that you wanted to then go and optimize that content more. You may be the SEO manager and you have content writers to do that. So you can then assign that to a content writer. So I'm going to assign that to my daughter. And I'm going to say, look, by this time next week, please improve this. And then she has her own login that doesn't see the whole of the site. She can also have the login for many other accounts as well. And she just sees the content that is assigned to her by other people in the ecosystem. So
all right, you're going to have to share a new secret with me.
Okay.
You can get your daughter to do what you tell her?
My daughter is doing a degree at Warwick University in language, culture, and communications, and she came down in lockdown and got really, really bored.
Oh,
so all of a sudden she said, Dad, is there something I can do? I thought, well, we're probably going to come to blows because we do on everything, but she's we got on really, really well. And she looked at this and thought, Dad, this is absolutely everything that's relevant to my degree. So we got, I mean, now she's gone off to her boyfriend and she's, lost the idea, and she'll never see that email anyway. But
okay, well, I see that would have been an even more significant tip or trick than the tool here.
I managed to do it for a few days, but I suspect it was COVID.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so now my bad spelling of the words please improve, and she can then start conversing on this, and she can start editing it on her end and improving the content, and then when she's happy, she can press completed, or you can, and then this turns into an archived, we've assigned kind of thing. So now we've got a workflow for improving the content as well. So that's kind of 3 things so far. The schema is getting injected, and the internal link optimization is getting done on the fly, and then the content is getting optimized in a way that's hopefully really cool. So the last thing then circles the whole project. Yeah, go on.
There's more?
Yeah, there is. Oh, thank you, Greg. I love your enthusiasm, which is great, and hopefully genuine, because honestly, I'm really excited about the whole thing. But we have an extra tool which I should have possibly talked about right at the start, because it starts the whole workflow process. but I start here because in the core of the product, because people kind of go, wow. But the start of the process is a trend analysis tool. So every paying customer gets this. So what we're doing here is we're now tracking trends by industry. So it's kind of like Google Trends well, hopefully on steroids, but certainly on some kind of acid anyway. So if you're interested in your case, education, then maybe careers is the place that you're looking. So you want to track what's happening in careers. So perhaps you want to know what courses you want to bring on, or maybe you want to know what that you've got a course on something and you want to start talking about it because it's starting to take off. So you can start. Firstly, the top here is showing what things are trending upwards, what things are trending downwards, the most important changes, and then here we've got some big
whoa. This, you hid this to the end, Dixon?
Yeah. Well, you've got to give somebody something to stand along to the end of the demo for. Really.
Dixon, that's called burying your lead.
For you, it's the lead. For you, the lead. But I already got you by the hook, so I already got to get to the end of the.
All right. That is killer. Partly because Rutgers, among other things, was the first to offer a digital marketing mini MBA.
Okay.
Then they offered a social media marketing mini MBA back in 2010.
Yeah.
Before everybody and their cousin was. And they've spotted other trends like the Internet of Things and created courses around that. Yeah. So this
is right up their street then, frankly. They've been mad not to have this system in here.
This is where the money is.
So if they want to say, right, we really need to start having a course on privacy, for example, well, it seems that Chief Privacy Officer is starting to take off with some kind of interest. Not huge numbers, but this is showing interest in a topic over the course of a 30-day cycle. So this is popping up and down, so there's something's happening with the concept of Chief Privacy Officer. So maybe it's something we want to track, in which case we just do that and it puts it into our dashboard so we can look at it again. But now what you might want to do is it's going to find one that's got a little bit more richness of meaning in
wow.
Something much. Let's go occupational information, whatever that is. So we had a massive, great big spike back in early May. And so we could then see that there are other things like Holland codes, I don't know what that is, or the National Human Resource Development. These are related topics as well. So we can then say, right, I want to start writing some content about this because people are interested, especially if that spike had been maintained. It's slightly different with the spike that goes up and down because,
right.
You know, it's that's just like a news cycle really, and
yep.
No one really cared. But if that starts to maintain, you've got to shift, and so you're interested. At which point you want to press this button, and it takes us all the way back. So you're back to the US market. You've got the keyword here. If you already had a page, then you could put it in here so that it compared to the page you've already got. But now we go back to the start and say, right, you want to create content on that. We better create a content brief for somebody to go and write some content on that and feed it into our loops. So it starts at the start here, when we're trying to find out what's trending. You then create some content on it or content brief. You then write the content on it and optimize it using the system. And then it will then create schema on that and internally link any other concepts that you've already got that are related to occupational information networks into that page as soon as you put it live and add it into the system. I'm done.
I'm amazed. Dixon.
Yes.
We thought you'd all snuck off to a pub and would never be heard from again, and you were working on this?
It has to take some deep dive thinking, and I couldn't really be sitting there trying to do 10 other things whilst you're thinking about this. So,
well yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell your wife that you've atoned for whatever
misdemeanor I had. Okay. Yeah.
Lying about the house that she thought you were engaged in.
You know what she's she's right now. She knows that I've been doing. I'm doing 8 of these demos a day and jumping in. moment after moment after moment. And if you want to tweet afterwards, I'm actually got a webinar in an hour, which is going to go through this as well for anybody that wants to jump in. Yeah, I mean, now she kind of knows that it's going somewhere. She can hear the two-way conversation between the demos, and yeah, a lot of people are going, yeah, bloody hell, I thought it was just doing this, or just whichever bit they heard about, they didn't hear that it was connecting the dots really, and think about it from the ground up.
Bloody hell gives away the nationality of who you've been talking with. But let me give you.
Zutalor is the person we should be saying.
Let me give you an American expression. It's holy moly. This is it's very impressive. And if I've suddenly gone calm, it's because I'm now into the okay, Dixon, what does it cost? Mode.
So I'm not very good at this costs 1,000 something or others. It isn't a business model that works for me. Freemium is the way to go for me. All of the best products seem to have freemium models. So the first 20 pages that you have on any website are, I've turned off my screen share. I won't put it back on.
No, I get the concept.
Yeah, so the first 20 pages that you add in are free. And then basically it's $39 per 100 pages that you add into your project. So you can have lots of projects, but basically per 100 pages you bring in, it'll cost you $39 a month to work with those, and then you can continue to pay on and go. So yes, if you're going to try and put every page on eBay on the system, we're going to have to start talking a different price structure. But for most people, we can then build it up, and you can go. You can put in 100 pages a month, and okay, you're increasing your costs, but you can check that the traffic is going up enough to cover that extra $40 every month. So and when it stops, when the traffic stops, I stop getting upgrades. But my hope is that people then start adding stuff in, and you start with the landing pages. But then if you just add all the other pages in, then it's already got the knowledge graph. It knows where the knowledge graph is, so it'll add those links in as you install them. So,
then let me conclude this conversation with a British expression. Brilliant. Simply brilliant.
I tell you what, Greg, I'm going to stop the recording then now.